I am experiencing an extremely difficult time trying to talk about this 2021 G80 BMW M3. Something happens when I get near it that my emotions just absolutely take over. And it's not that it's difficult to talk about this car. In fact, so much was said about this car last year in 2020 that it made it one of the most written and spoken about cars of 2020. But now that I am in physical contact with this car, a connection has been made, an unbreakable connection. There is one very specific thing about this, a very specific M3, that puts it, or that brings it all together and speaks to me on a level so profound that this may be one of my absolute all-time favorite cars. It is, look, everybody knows about that. I don't want to bring it up again. You'll see it again on the screen, but it is, well, I will bring it up again because it's impossible to overlook, but it's so much better than you think when you come into physical contact with the car. My emotions are taking over, right? I have goosebumps just standing near the car and talking about it. Look, the BMW M3 has a type of history that every automaker wishes they had at least one product that had that type of legacy. BMW has a lot of them. In fact, most of their M cars have that type of impactful history. And the BMW M3 may very well be the greatest of them all. I mean, I've never spoken to anyone who enjoys cars, obviously, and heard them say that I don't like the E30, I don't like the E36, I hate the E46, so the E90 is a disaster. Although, as far as I'm concerned, when the F80 was introduced and I drove those cars, that M3 just did nothing for me. It had lost something, some character, some of its essence. But all of it is back in the G30, this wonderful, fantastic automobile. Look, I don't know how this video is going to turn out, but I might gush or have weird moments of silence. I apologize ahead of time for that. But this is the new M3. All right, so let's just address the elephant in the room, which is really nothing more than just the smallest possible ant. Think muscle car, think aggression, think annihilation of everything else on the road around you. Somehow on the M3, this grille absolutely works. And part and parcel to that being the fact is these incredibly, I don't know, I see a Firebird somehow in the way the hood is sculpted, the dome and those creases in there. It just works on every possible conceivable level. And even if that part of the car still irks you a little bit, as you walk around, everything else comes into play, into place. It just works out. A little bit like a few other BMWs, depending on the angle, the car looks actually small, but in fact, it's very considerable for a smallish, mid-sized, once was compact sedan. Look, the car is just stunning. It is breathtaking, but subtle at the same time. Some of the design features look just a little teeny tiny lip spoiler on the trunk lid. It's beautiful. The rear flares, see, the flares don't actually go into the doors. They stop right at the rear quarter panels. There's something about that and the way it's cut down here, and you can see a little bit of the tire, subtle little details. The skirts, well, now they're dirty, but when they're glossy and black, they just look even better. Look, the wheels, the setup, the 19s in the front and the 20s in the back. I said I was gonna gush, right? I mean, you have to agree with me. This car has so much road presence, but it doesn't scream. It's just so clearly superior and powerful and dedicated to the art of driving and speed. Oh, yeah, and the tailpipes are pretty cool too. All right, Well, I warned you. Oh, and there's a carbon fiber roof on there too. All right, so base price in the US is only $69,900 for the base M3. The M3 competition is $72,800. In Canada, well, the base M3 is $84,300. When you step up to the competition, $88,300. No secret here, this is a base M3. What do you get with the base M3? Look, the list of features is fairly extensive. I mean, the highlights: 12.3-inch digital cockpit, 10.25-inch display, iDrive 7 navigation, merino leather, that carbon fiber roof I just mentioned. My car has quite possibly the best combination of specs, and for that, congratulations BMW Canada. Awesome job with that, because it only has a few options. There's a tetragon aluminum interior trim. I'll show that to you in a few moments. It's got the Kia Lamy, I think I said that right, orange leather in a moment, and the premium package, which just adds a few interesting features. Look, it's got cooled seats, it's got the power trunk lid, and a few other things. $91,750. Do you want to see the trunk? $91,750. Maybe I would do without the premium, but you know, some aspects are nice. There's a trunk, right? That's enough. You don't need to see that anymore. Are you ready for this Kia Lamy? I think I said that right. Boom shakalaka. Look at that. Does that just not take your breath away? I love color on the outside and the inside. But this, unfortunately, I forget the name of the color. It's terrible on my part, but anyway. Typical BMW. Look, should I get in? I'll get in, whatever. Decent amount of space. This is the beauty with this car, right? It's an M3, it's a 3 Series sedan, which means it's got actual, what is that? What is that you say? Oh, that's right, yes. You could easily, well, maybe not easily slide 3 across, but there's plenty of room, good headroom. It works as an executive sedan, despite the fact that it's only a 3 Series. And every time I look at these seats, it just blows my mind. You know, a whole bunch of reasons why it should blow your mind too, but just the color. Fit, finish, very BMW, as expected. This is that tetragon aluminum thing. It's kind of like a chainmail or something like that. Let's start her up. That's right, it's manual. Oh goodness, I'm sweating because I'm so excited about this car. There's your 12.3-inch thing, and then your 10.25-inch thing, and oh well, it's actually on the setup page, which works out beautifully. So you have your pre-programmed M mode. So I'm going to press the M mode button. Road, Sport, and Track. And as with most BMW M cars, you have a setup button, which means you can individually configure everything you like or don't like. And you can program them through the M1 and M2 buttons. Now, my M1 is my, you heard that maybe, I hope. See, normally I would have the engine on Sport, but in Sport Plus, the exhaust just sounds that much more angry. Just so you know, gear shift assistance, that's a rev matching function, which should be off. Chassis comfort, a must, and everything else in comfort too. And this just makes it an impossibly easy daily car to drive, but it is very labor intensive at the same time. I'll touch on that in a few moments. This is your sight lines, big blind spot there, but whatever. It doesn't matter because it's an M3. Let's just go for a drive, all right? Of the many reasons why I love driving this car so much, obviously the manual transmission comes at the very top of why this car is so spectacular and just boggles my brain. Look, anyone can be fast in a straight line or around a track if all you need to do is put it in D and or use the paddles, right? But it takes skill, talent, experience, know-how in order to extract the most out of a manual transmission. And unlike a manual transmission you might find in, say, a Volkswagen Golf GTI or Golf R, or in a Porsche, BMW's manual transmission makes you work a little bit harder in order to get it right. And that just empowers me. I love the fact that I have to work a little bit harder, have to be a little bit more careful and conscientious of what I'm doing while I'm driving in order to shift. I mean, look, the Volkswagen Auto Group manual transmissions almost shift themselves. They're so smooth and easy. But this, the throws are notchy, and you have to put a fair amount of weight in every gesture you take or make. If you don't perfectly synchronize the clutch and the upshift or downshift, something will catch a gear, the clutch, or whatnot, and you can look like a noob in a half second. Guilty as charged. But when you get it right, oh my God. And heel toe is a must. I showed you that driving assistance thingamajigger. That is a no-no. You have to do it yourself. The pedals are perfectly positioned for that. You can do a lazy big toe, small toe, or you can do the full heel toe maneuver. I feel so connected to this car. Another reason, and this is mostly to do with the fact that I recently drove an M5 competition, and in a nutshell, I hated the M Servotronic steering programming. It was completely out of whack. What it would do, in a sense, is I would give it 2 degrees of input, and it would want to enhance that and make me and deliver more input for me. It would think for me. Cannot stand that. Reason enough not to buy the car. This, on the other hand, it's so nice. I mean, it doesn't mess about. It just responds. You can feel the assistance build up, but it's so linear that it almost feels natural. And that's in comfort mode, right? Stop sign. So, in comfort mode, I got this, all right? I've tried it in sport, and it starts to edge towards, oh, I'll do the thinking for you because obviously you're trying to go faster, or I don't know what, and you don't know what you're doing. Comfort is the way to go. The same thing applies to the chassis. I mean, the M adaptive dampers and everything are just brilliantly configured in comfort for country roads that are damaged, such as these, as well as any city street. I mean, even when the surfaces get a little bit nicer and the speeds start to pile up, I have felt no need to go into sport, and I haven't even considered Sport Plus. That's one of the greatest tricks that this car pulls. In comfort mode, it is wonderful, and the steering is nice. It just doesn't mess about. Oh, that shifter. And then there's the heart of the beast. BMW's straight 6 twin power turbocharged 3-liter engine is one of the most flexible, brilliantly engineered engines your money can buy. I mean, no matter what car they put it in, it just works. And well, in the M3, it produces only 473 horsepower. That's at 6,250 RPM. Oh, and that reminds me of something else. Brakes are fantastic, and I'm actually enjoying them more set in sport. There's still enough travel when you get on the pedal hard that you can modulate the assistance fairly easily, which is a beautiful thing too. It's actually more, it inspires a little bit more confidence in this car's immense stopping power than in comfort. Now the power, is saying 473 horsepower, which is 30 less than what the competition does, but the reason why the competition is faster is because it comes with the automatic transmission. That's the only real reason. It produces 406 pound-feet of torque between 2,650 and 6,130 RPM, if memory serves, which means that once you start rolling into 2,000 RPM, this thing will pull like mad to well over 6,500 RPM. I've not done a launch with the car. I know a lot of auto journalists will do launches, but I never feel the need to actually do a launch, because It's all programming, it's all electronics. This car is obviously fast. It'll do 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just under 4.5 seconds. And competition will do it in just over 4, if I'm not mistaken. So they're all fast. It's just this one needs a little bit more personal involvement in the driving experience. And that is what this M3 is all about. It is such, thanks to the transmission, a superior, and the steering, driver's car over the M5. I wouldn't spend the money, and given that there's a manual transmission available in the M3 and M4, I mean, that's reason enough to look. I've kept myself almost in check up until now. This car speaks to me on a different plane. I mean, there are cars that are just designed to please, and this one, BMW has built another M car, a real M car. What I was saying about the F80 is it was just, nothing fit somehow. There was too much power for the chassis and the platform steering. I don't know. There was a disconnect between the components of what are supposed to make an M3 and M3. This, everything lines up. Everything is perfectly balanced. And I firmly believe that a lot of that has to do with the non-competition and the manual transmission. Because this is a proper M car. And it also sounds really, really good.